Wow. Ohio State takes down Purdue inside Mackie Arena.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a bonus episode of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And during this Hardwood Huddle, we will discuss what is next for your Ohio State basketball team. But before we get to any of that, Ohio State just took down the number 11 team in the country. It is those pesky Purdue Boilermakers. And it happened inside Mackie Arena. In this game, saw Ohio State come back from being down 16 in the first half. They were down 13 at halftime. And via a change of the way they're playing in the second half, via good defense, via making sure you're putting in the extra effort on both ends of the court, Ohio State walks away with a 73-70 win. And throughout this game, I'm sitting here watching it thinking, there's no way Ohio State's going to win this game. There's no way with the way they were playing in the first half, with Purdue's offense being one with it where it makes you guard all five guys throughout the entirety of the shot clock. And Ohio State was a little lackadaisical at times, weren't giving the extra energy. Purdue was finding the right guy at the right time, and Ohio State just struggled. And on offense, it wasn't crisp ball movement. It wasn't moving around and making Purdue be second-guessing and getting behind on while a guy is cutting. No, it was a lot of one-on-one play in the first half, a lot of solo basketball, and that was a big reason why Ohio State got down 16 and had a 13-point deficit at halftime. In the second half, though, while the Buckeyes shot poorly in the first half, they did not have that same thing happen in the second half. Those boys got into a roll. Those boys started to play Buckeye basketball. Their energy on defense opened up the things on offense, and they had extra space to move the ball on offense. And the next thing you know, they're chipping away. And then Micah Parish got hot. Quez Glover came in and played great while John Mobley Jr. was on the bench. When he got nicked in the eye, he was on the bench for a while, ended up coming back, hit a dagger at the end of the game. And while it was a tale of two halves, we saw Ohio State fight. We saw the Buckeyes grow right before our very eyes. And Devin Royal was back in this game, and his presence was definitely felt. Well, I was thinking that Trey Kaufman-Renn and Smith and Caleb First, whose numbers weren't the way that I thought they were going to. This is me before the game. Fletcher Loyer had 15 points for Purdue, but it was Ohio State at the end of the day. Even with Bruce Thornton not having many points in the first half, I think he only ended up with 2 first-half points, the Buckeyes found a way. They scratched. They clawed. They didn't fold. They came back out on the court after halftime with extra energy, and that was exactly what you need right now when Ohio State is really a team trying to find a spark, a team that is trying to just get some chemistry. Game after game after game, we talked about it last week, how there's at times with this team, they don't have everybody. They're not able to build chemistry. And when you get Devin Royal back, you're still not at full strength because Michi Johnson has not returned to the team yet. You're able to get this win in an environment and an arena where most teams don't come in and win. But Ohio State did today. And for all the issues with Ohio State's basketball team and with all of the things that may have been giving them every internal reason to fold, they didn't. They said, no, we're not going to fold. We're not going to back down. We're going to let our athleticism help us. We are going to let our play, by changing the way we play, give us a chance to win. Ohio State opened up the second half on a 17-4 run, and that's part of the story tonight. And for Jake Diebler, you need this, man. This is the kind of win you want as a young coach and for a team that is trying to build momentum in the right way. Not extend a losing streak, but no, you're trying to stack wins, win after win after win. And when you go to Mackie Arena, one of the toughest places to play in the country, and you walk out of there with a win, and you have to claw back, you have to do some things, expend some extra energy to do so, hats off to you. Hats off to every Buckeye. Hats off to the coaches. hats off to the players because they got it done tonight. When it seemed like it wasn't going to happen, it did happen. Bruce Thornton, like I said, only had 2 points in the first half, ended the game with 11. Micah Parish, that man got hot. He was 6 of 8 from downtown. He led all Buckeye scorers and players with 22 points tonight. Devin Royal, back after missing a game recently with a wrist injury. I think he missed a couple games, had 16 points and 6 rebounds of his own. The fact that they were able to overcome the poor shooting in the first half and produce formula that seemed like Ohio State wasn't going to be able to overcome it, celebrate this win. Don't just go in the locker room and say, oh, no, we got to get back to work. No, you need to celebrate this because this is the morale-boosting kind of win that Ohio State desperately needs right now. One thing Ohio State desperately needs moving forward is to do something they did tonight. We'll dive into that next. This bonus episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keep every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Simply visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. This is a message from our friends over at Prize Picks, the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, Prize Picks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or regular season, Prize Picks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all the football action. Now it's playoff time, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks. Here's how it works. You pick more or less on at least 2 players, and if your picks hit, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Yes, that's right. 1,000 times your money just by making a few simple picks. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prize Picks. Prize Picks. Run your game. Thank y'all for tapping into this bonus episode of Locked on Buckeyes, diving into Ohio State's 73-70 win over Purdue, who was the number 11 team in the land, but the Buckeyes went in there to Mackie Arena and knocked off the Boilermakers. And while I'm just thinking about this game and thinking about what's next in the future, not even looking at the schedule, but simply what is next for Ohio State and the team and how they capitalize on this win, they need to continue to fight in every game like they did tonight. If you tell any team out there you're down 16 points in the first half, the coach is going to say there's a path for us to overcome this deficit, but it's very, very hard. If maybe you weren't down 16 points in the first half, but the most you're down is 13 points at halftime, like Ohio State was tonight, you may say, hey, there's a realistic opportunity to overcome this deficit while shooting poor in the first half. However, it's going to be difficult to do so. Ohio State had to overcome a 16-point deficit and a 13-point deficit at halftime, and they came back and won. And in the first half, their shooting numbers were really poor. I didn't really go over it earlier. I'll go over those percentages now and just kind of compare Ohio State shooting versus Purdue shooting and why this comeback in the way they just kind of rolled back in the way that they did is so impressive. Ohio State shot a whopping 38% in the first half. Purdue shot 60%. Ohio State was 8 for 21 from the field. From downtown, they were even worse at 27.3%, only hit 3 of their 11 three-point attempts in the first half. And the second half was a little bit different for both teams. And that's one of the things that I think tells a big picture about this. We harp on Ohio State's offensive firepower in the way that they warred back tonight. But defensively, they warred back too. Purdue only shot 37.9% in the second half of this game, while Ohio State got hot. They shot 66.7% from downtown and 66.7% from the field. And while you're fighting back, you're working on defense, and that's helping you out on offense. And Ohio State needs to continue to fight and make sure they allow their defense to help them on offense. But when you're lacking on defense, that's going to hurt your offense. And we saw that tonight. We've seen that in numerous Buckeye games where sometimes the ball gets stagnant and it doesn't move. And it's just one-on-one situations for various guys. And what do you find? One shot, if you miss it, the other team's going down to the other end of the court. That happened tonight. We're in the second half. Ohio State said, okay, we're going to play a little bit different, going to have a little bit more energy. And Purdue was the one only having one shot per possession, while Ohio State got that rebound and pushed that ball down court, and they didn't allow Purdue to get their defense set up as quickly as the Boilermakers wanted to. Continue to fight. You have to. It's the Big Ten, man. I mean, you're in the heart of the Big Ten schedule. You're fighting for seeding in the Big Ten tournament. You're fighting to make the NCAA tournament, and this is the kind of win that if you allow yourself to build upon it and your morale stays high and you realize we didn't do everything right, and we walked away with a win over the number 11 team in the country. What if we would have done everything right? We may have walked away with a win, and it may have been a double-digit point win because Ohio State's athleticism, and when they get hot, Purdue didn't have an answer. Now, Purdue fought back in their own right, don't get me wrong. But Ohio State, when they're playing like they need to, and they're able to build chemistry, they're going to be one of the tougher teams to beat. It's in that middle of the pack. Now, they're not Auburn. They're not Iowa State. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it and saying they can be one of the top teams in the country. No, I'm not saying that. But for a team right now like Ohio State, has an above average record, well, above 500 record, but barely. This is the kind of stuff that you need right now to make sure, one, you get into the NCAA tournament, and two, you're seeding. You have a preferred spot in the seeding of the Big Ten tournament, which is, a month and a half away. Goodness gracious, this season is going fast. Thank y'all for tapping into this bonus episode of Locked on Buckeyes. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can also send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This bonus episode is not taking place of our regular Hump Day episode of Locked on Buckeyes that will be coming your way at its regular time on Wednesday morning.